This Torah was said right after the Rebbe got sick with tuberculosis, and it was a fatal sickness at the time. That Rosh Hashanah, I think he got it in the summer, and that Rosh Hashanah, he said this Torah, and they say, it's brought down that this was the tzava, because the Rebbe thought he's dying, even though he lived 3 years later, but he thought that this was it. I think the doctors told him that this was it. So on Rosh Hashanah, when the Chassidim came, he gave this Torah, and it's known in Breslov that Torah is considered the tzava of the Rebbe. And it's interesting, when I first started the Torah, most Torahs there are a lot of Torahs that the topic is a topic that you could jump right into and starts talking to you right away. And for some reason, I felt like I was having a very, very hard time connecting to this Torah. And I realized that the reason is because the topic is something that I don't want to be makabel. And because the topic is Amunas Chacham. What it means, we'll see a whole new understanding of it's different than what we think Amunas Chacham is. But Amunas Chachamim, how do we define Amunas Chachamim? Means that I have to believe in the Rabbanim and the Chachamim and of our generation and of all previous generations, all the way up to Moshe Rabbeinu. And that is a challenge, a big challenge. I could say that Reb Chaim Kanevsky was a very big tzaddik. Rabbi Yaakov Menashe is a very big tzaddik. I really believe that. Yet, am I going to have a munah in everything that he says? Do I want to even align myself with him? Do I even want to have a munah? What I'm trying to say is that I'm just telling you that one of the ways that we said many, many times in order to connect to a Torah and to hear the Rebbe talking directly to you is to surrender for the moment that you're learning. So I tried it. And as soon as I did that, and for a long, I'm telling you, I've been learning over and over, and I'm still really in the previous Torah, Chav Gimel, Chav Dalet, I'm still saying shiur on it, and I'm in the middle of Likutei. So I learned this just to know it a little bit enough of the map of the Torah, but I wasn't able to connect. This week, I said to myself, I went through my own little journey last week, and I said to myself, you know something? If they pick this Torah, it's not them that pick the Torah, it's the Rebbe that picks this Torah. And the Rebbe wants to talk to me right now about Amunas Chacham. So am I not going to surrender, at least for the moment that I'm learning? And as soon as you do that, I'm just telling you what works for me, and I'm sharing it. It starts talking to you. He starts talking to you, even though it's a topic you don't like. But all of a sudden, you start talking, the topic starts talking to you. So what I'm sharing with you my journey and telling you that, and it's a long Torah, and I'm hope to be learning this Torah until Rosh Chodesh El. So it's a long time to learn this Torah. So I'm suggesting that if you want to get inside, I'm telling you that the topic is challenging. So my advice is, at least for the time that we're learning, let's open up, and then I just want to go through the map of the Torah first and translate the Torah without any questioning, and then come back and start debating and talking. So just to get through Sif Aleph. Chadi Rab Shimon v'Amar. Rab Shimon was happy, and he said, Hashem shamati shemacha. Hashem, I heard your message, Yoresi, and I feared. Amar. So Rab Shimon said, Hasam yoz havile lemitcha. Over there, it was appropriate to fear. What happened? Chavakuk Hanavi was giving nevuah. He was saying prophecy, and in his nevuah, he saw Galus Bavel and predicted that we're going to get out of Galus Bavel. And then he saw Galus Edom, which is our Galus, and he saw that it's going to be a very long, extended Galus. So he started to fear Klal Yisrael may be annihilated. We may not make it through Galus. So he said, Hashem shamati shemecha. I heard the message. I got the message. V'yoresi, and I got scared that who knows if we're going to make it. So Reb Shimon says, it was apropos and appropriate for Chavakuk to have fear. And the Rebbe says, v'chulu. What's the v'chulu here? The v'chulu is that Reb Shimon said, Anan, us, he was talking to his chavraya, the chavivus tell you, we have love, and therefore I'm happy and I'm not afraid. That's what Reb Shimon said. So the question is, what was Reb Shimon being maisiv? What do you mean? We have love, and therefore what? What? Chavakuk didn't have love? Reb Shimon didn't have yira? Love and yira, ava and yira, what's going on here? This is the header of the Torah, and with this, the Rebbe is going to go through a long, lengthy Torah of many different themes in the Torah, and then he's going to come back and explain it, but we'll hopefully today even give a little bit of a surface level understanding to what happened between Reb Shimon and what was the difference between Reb Shimon and what Chavakuk said. We can take our mishpat to Ur, and we'll talk about what mishpat is in a second, but first let's hear the words. Whatever mishpat means, and whatever Amunas Chachamim means, Amunas Chachamim is a tool to bring all of our mishpat into light, says the Rebbe. Ki mishpat, what is mishpat? Mishpat is the center pillar. What does that mean? Again, let's leave it. And what does a center pillar mean? A center pillar is the mishpat, Hainu bechinas derech hamamutza. A center pillar is the middle way. The derech hamamutza. There is always a path and a way. Finding the center line in the path, that's always that's going to be mishpat. What does that mean? What does a derech hamamutza mean? That it doesn't stray or veer to the right or to the left. It's always in the middle. This we get through Amunas Chachamim. The Torah tells us that don't deviate from what Chachamim tell you, not to the right and not to the left. Since we see in the pasuk the lashon is used as Yeminu Smail, so the Rebbe is using that as a guide to tell you that Derech HaMamutza means that it doesn't go right and it doesn't go left. And if you use this tool of Mishpat, which is Derech HaMamutza, and how will you get to this tool of Derech HaMamutza? You're going to merit that Zezeichen through Amunas Chachamim, whatever that means. Al Kein Al Yedei Yotzei HaMishpat Baru, then your Mishpat will come out clear, B'Bchinas Mishpatei Emes, which is the inyan of Emes Mishpat. Hein, what does it mean, Emes Mishpat? Zog the Rebbe, Ki Kol HaLimudim She'adam Loimen, everything that a person learns, Tzarech She'yikabel V'Yotzei Mehem Mishpatei Emes, he has to receive and take out from everything he learns, Mishpatei Emes. Shelo yiyeh b'bchinas Mishpat Mu'ukul. What does it mean, Mishpatei Emes? That it should not be a distorted Mishpat. The Hainu She'yikabel, what does that mean? She'yikabel v'yilmod mikol halimudim shaloimet. That he should be makabel and learn from everything that he learns, Mishpatei Hanhagas, ways of behavior and to conduct himself. What does that mean? Sheyeda eich le'snaig, that he should know how to behave, hein la'atzmai, for himself, hein la'acherim, and for others, shemisnagim lefidatah, others that are behaving according to his das, mainly his wife and his children. Kol echad ve'echad kefi b'chinasai, each and in every person according to his bechina, kefi ha'memshala v'harabana yashloi, according to the control and the leadership that he has, hein l'rav, whether it's to a lot of people, oy lamat, or it's for little people, not a lot of people, that is considered mishpatei emes. So the Rebbe is explaining that everything that we learn in life, whether I'm learning Torah, whether I'm learning Limudei Chayil, or life experiences, what is mishpat? Mishpat is to take lessons from what I'm learning of how to behave, and how, not just for myself, but for people who are under my control and under my leadership, whether it's a lot or a little. And how does one get to be able to take out from his learning experiences a mishpatei emes and not a mishpat mu'ukul? That you merit through Amunas Chachamim, shehu b'chinas loisasa, because Amunas Chachamim is the inyan of loisasa, v'az yuchal lahaitzi mishpatei anhagos yisharos, and then he will be able to take out straight behaviors, b'chinas mishpatei emes, which is the inyan of mishpatei emes, she'eina noita liyamin usmal, that does not move to the right or to the left. Let's stop here and let's just say it again outside, and then we're going to start questioning, debating, whatever you want. So again, the Rebbe is telling you through Amunas Chachamim, the header of the Torah is, through this tool, whatever Amunas Chachamim means, it will take our mishpat la'or. Why? Because mishpat is a central pillar, which is the derech hamamutza. And what's derech hamamutza? That it's not veering right or left. Like it says, and how will I merit that? Through Amunas Chachamim, I will get clarity, mishpat clarity, and I will get mishpatei emes. What is mishpatei emes? That the Rebbe says, to learn from everything that I learn, I have to be makabel and take out mishpatei emes, that it shouldn't become a distorted mishpat. How do I do that? That I'm going to learn from every experience ways of behavior, that I should know how to behave for myself or for people that I'm leading, whether it's a lot or a little, anyone who's under my control. And all of this, I'm going to come through this tool called Amunas Chachamim, And then I will be able to come out with good behaviors, straight behaviors, which are mishpatei emes, that doesn't veer not right and not left. And to bring our mishpat to light, a footnote of the various interrelated meanings of the word mishpat, plural mishpatim, the more common are justice, judgment, and law. Reb Nachman employs all three of these meanings in our lesson. In this opening statement, the Rebbe speaks of mishpat as justice, moral righteousness, and justness of one's case. To bring our mishpat to light is to make this justice manifest, to have our justness become evident, and so be spared punishment or affliction. As mentioned at the time of the Rebbe gave the lesson, the Tsar committee had already formulated a set of decrees regarding the Jews. The Rebbe teaches that through faith in the sages and tzaddikim, one can reverse such decrees, mitigating dinim, severe judgments, or extreme justice, and thus bring one's mishpat to light. The word mishpat has three meanings: law, judgment, and justice. So if you think about it, stam, and I'm not saying he's right, I think it's much more than that, but first, let's analyze. After this opening statement, however, the Reb Nachman uses the term of mishpat, appears to shift. The Rebbe begins to alternate between two of mishpat's other meanings, judgment and law. As judgment, mishpat indicates the capacity to properly assess, judge circumstances, as to draw sound conclusions and reach clear decisions. So now he's saying that the next thing. That at the beginning of the Torah, it sounds like the Rebbe is talking about mishpateinu as all our judgments. That means if a guy has a court case, or Klal Yisrael has a court case, there's law, there's judgment, and there's justice. And that's the process of the judicial system, any judicial system, right? And then, as we go on, like we learned, the Rebbe starts talking about behavior. If it's our behavior, then it has to mean our decisions. And he's talking bring it. Yet the Rebbe also speaks of mishpatim, of conduct, a concept in which the word mishpat signifies law, a rule of conduct or a regulation. Rabbi Avram Chazan, author of the Likutei, addresses this somewhat uncharacteristic shift in the meaning judgment and law. He calls the mishpat of below, since, as Rabbi Nachman will explain, clarity in making decisions and deriving principles of upright conduct are qualities of mishpat that each person must attain for himself through his personal development and study. Justice, on the other hand, he calls the mishpat of on high. I don't know what that means, since moral righteousness and justness are ultimately associated with the divine. Avram explains, however, that when we reach the end of the lesson, where the Rebbe discusses mitigating severe judgment, dinim, extreme mishpat, we understand how these two domains of mishpat are complementary and interrelated. In fact, the two are so related that we can read the word mishpat in the lesson's opening statement. Through emunas chachamim, we can bring our mishpat to light according to any one of its three meanings. Not just mishpat as justice, but also as judgment or law. As we will see, through faith in the sages at tzaddikim, we learn to follow the middle path and achieve the discernment needed to reach clear decisions, bring our judgment to light. Through this faith, too, we learn to derive true law from our studies so that we know how to conduct ourselves and also advise others. We bring our laws to light. And by attaining these qualities associated with the mishpat of below, we mitigate severe judgment and so bring our justice to light on high. Bi'ar Likutei. With no single word in English that incorporates all three connotations of the term mishpat, it has been left in its original Hebrew in the translation of the text. Actually, very good. I never really chopped this note. I read it before, but now I get it. So what he's saying is like this. The Bi'ar Likutei, the Rabbi Nachman that wrote the Bi'ar Likutei, and he says, from the Rebbe, in the Torah, you see two different things. He's talking about the mishpat on Klal Yisrael and dinim, severe dinim, and there is law. Now, in mishpat, there are three parts, because that's why he says he's going to use the word mishpat throughout, as the English translation because you can't use. He's not going to write all three each time. He's saying he's giving a header. Mishpat means three things: law, judgment, and justice. So, but it seems like the Rebbe is talking about global law, a mishpat, a court case, whether it's the Klal Yisrael individual or from Hashem, that kind of a court case. And then the Rebbe says about decisions, how to conduct yourself. So he says that it's really interrelated, because and we could learn the Torah from the beginning that the Rebbe is talking about decisions, because if we get mishpatei emes in our life's decisions, it will bring mishpatei emes in any court case, any judgment on Klal Yisrael or Chas v'Shalom from the Eibishter, Gezeres from Hashem, Dinim from Hashem. So one thing we see clear, that mishpat means decisions. Now, how many decisions do we make a day? From the second you get up, you are constantly making decisions. You're making decisions on the present, and you're making decisions on the future every second of the day. So now, the Rebbe is talking about our decision making, and our decision making, that's something that we're challenged with all the time, even when we are not going through the full process of a decision making, but we're making choices. And every time we choose, we made a decision. Whether instinctively we made that decision or we processed that decision. But a decision really is a process. Even when I'll give you an example, Mendy, with your permission. Mendy brought up a decision yesterday about going for shiurs to the bungalow county. Should he go to the bungalow county or should he not go to the bungalow? No, he was going to the bungalow. He made a decision to go to the bungalow county. His wife came over to him, should he have his in-laws v'yantiv or not have his in-laws v'yantiv? And when his wife asked him, "You're asking me, or do you want? What do you?" No, I'm asking your opinion. And he said, "If you're asking me, I say no." Why? Because the last time we had your in-laws v'yantiv, you were stressed out, and I don't want to see you being stressed out. So, did Mendy make a decision now, or did Mendy make a decision the last time he had his in-laws? And had his wife not asked him, and he would have to make the decision, he wouldn't even have a suffix, perhaps, if yes or no, he would automatically have made a decision. And we could say both ways. We're not going into Mendy's story. We just use it as an example. But we make decisions so many times without really processing the sides of the decision, based on a previous experience that we already made a decision. That would be being noita, whether the yamin or the smal. That's called not looking for the derech hamamutza. It would be similar to a judge if someone stole money and he's going to trial for geneva of $1 million, and the judge will say 20 years ago, let me see his rap sheet. 20 years ago, he stole $1,000. So the judge is automatically inclined to say, already this guy is starting with a minus because this is not the first time. He's not a first offender. It's a second offender. And a second offender already has a minus. That would be already a netiya to either yamin or smal. Every isolated decision. So first thing is that we see that decisions have a process. What the process of the decision is, that I'm using previous experiences as a factor in whatever my decision making, even if I'm making the decision for myself. So that means that the decision that I'm making today is really connected to a previous decision. It's not an isolated circumstance. So perhaps we can understand that if mishpat means decisions, when the Rebbe says mishpateinu, our mishpatim, what does he mean? Perhaps mishpateinu means that all our decisions should be aligned with mishpatei emes. So that's very fearful, because we all know that we don't have a munus chachamim, and I turned 56 yesterday. So 56 years of mostly no munus chachamim. Say thank you. So mostly a no amunas chachamim would say to me, have to say to me, that I give out all my decisions that I'm making have to be mishpat ma'okol. So how do I fix it? Even if I have amunas chachamim now, how is that going to fix all? Because I am where I am for so many different decisions that are all aligned from birth that condition me from all my experiences. How am I going to get out of it? The Rebbe is going to talk about it. Let's not get stuck there. First, we're going through the process of mishpat. If I take an isolated choice, and we need to understand there's a process, that there's a platform, there are laws, right? There's rules and regulations that I predetermined from previous mishpatim, and then there's the process of my choice. And usually every decision has only two choices, right or left, right? There's no other choice. And then there's the verdict. So that means law, judgment, and then justice. Did I make a just decision or did I not make a just decision? So in mishpat, there are three components. There always has to be a law, a rule. There has to be the process, which is judgment. And then there has to be the verdict, which is justice. And we want to come to a verdict that's mishpatei emes. So I asked Mendy this question yesterday, and I'm asking you guys the question again. If my choice in my decision-making is only one of two choices, so why do I need a Amunas Chachamim? 50% of my choices will be right. I'll be pashtus, because it's a 50-50. It's either right, Yemin, or let's call Yemin a smile just as the label of the two choices. One choice is right, one choice is left. So there's two questions. If I eeny, meeny, miny, moe it, then 50% of the time I'm going to have mishpatei emes. Question one. Question two is, if my choices are right and left, and I choose one of the choices, how could I have a derech hamamutza? In other words, if at the end result I'm choosing right or left, then I chose one of the two, which is Yemin or Smile, which means I'm not going b'derech hamamutza. So what is the Rebbe telling me to go b'derech hamamutza? Two questions that need to be understood. So now let's talk. So this is in Mishpat, because that's called a netiyah. What does netiyah mean? We say he has a netiyah. What does it mean, a netiyah? Every decision that we're making has a netiyah to a previous decision. I said that it's automatic, that I am already conditioned, which means I have a netiyah to a previous calculation. Once you're saying it, it's a verdict. We're saying perhaps, we don't know. We know one thing, that in our decision, a mishpat ma'okol means a distorted mishpat. A distorted mishpat means that it had an atiyah. An atiyah means it had a movement to one side. It moved. How could something have an atiyah? The reason why it has an atiyah is usually from a previous experience. That's what I said. Let's open up Emunah Chacham. What does Emunah Chacham mean? And this question is a good question. Emunah Chacham is plural. Chachamim, because that's called an atiyah. What does netiyah mean? We say he has an atiyah. What does it mean, an atiyah? It's automatic that I am already conditioned, which means I have an atiyah to a previous calculation. We know one thing, that in our decision, a mishpat ma'okol means a distorted mishpat. A distorted mishpat means that it had an atiyah. An atiyah means it had a movement to one side. It moved. How could something have an atiyah? The reason why it has an atiyah is usually from a previous experience. That's what I said. I didn't say that you have to recalculate. What does emunah chacham? There are two words here. Emunah and chacham. Let's understand, what is emunah first of all. What does emunah mean?
Something I don't know and I believe.
Very good. So first of all, that answer's shiny already. That means I have to be in the place of I don't know. And then I could go to a place of belief. Now, what am I believing in? Chachamim, like Nadi also said previously, Chachamim plural. So what does that mean, to believe in Chacham? Does it mean that I don't know, so I pick up the phone and I say, Rabbi, what do I do in this situation on every decision? Is that what the Rebbe is telling us, that every decision I make, I need to pick up the phone or go to the Chachamim and ask the Chachamim? Or is the Rebbe saying to me that by this tool of having belief in Chachamim, that's a tool for me to make decisions that will be mishpatei emes? And if yes, how does it work? What's the mechanics? What do you say? And Emunah means faith. Faith means I don't know, I believe. And what am I having faith in? Chachamim. Chachamim. The way I always understood it, which I think the Rebbe is going to give us a new revelation, but I always understood it, I'm believing in the tzaddikim, I'm believing in the people. I believe in the people. So, and now, like you asked before, the people are corrupt, the Chacham are corrupt, so I don't believe in the people. So if I don't believe in the people, I'll never have Mishpat. According to the Rebbe, I can't have Mishpat. So then the question is, why not? If a Mishpat is a decision on a choice of either Yamin or Smail, so 50% of the time I'll have Mishpat, 50% of the time I'll have Mishpat. Okay, what's the difference? So, bottom line is, why does it work? The Rebbe is telling you a fact here. Through a Munus Chachamim, your Mishpat will come out to light, which that in itself needs an understanding. What does it mean to light? But first of all, it's going to bring Mishpatei Emes. It's going to be Emes decisions. Mishpatei Baruch. He uses a few lashon. So the Rebbe is going to explain that later. But you're saying good, actually. You're saying, so I'll give you a sneak preview. And Munas Chachamim, according to the Rebbe later, is that the Chacham is getting Ruach Chachma from Hashem. That means Hashem is giving a ruach. There's a spirit. This is the part that here. Let's go back to our question. If I made a eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I hit the right decision, is that considered mishpatei emes? Even if I have no amunus chacham? I'm asking a question. I bought a stock. I have no amunus chacham. I'm not religious. I don't even like Judaism. I made a decision to buy ABC stock. I bought it for $100. A month later, it became worth $1 million. I took out the money. I made $1 million. Is that considered a mishpatei emes or a mishpat ma'ukal? What is it? It came out extremely beneficial for me. I went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I legitimately invested in something. I wasn't sure if I should. I wasn't sure if I shouldn't. I made a decision to invest, and the investment worked out. Is that called a mishpat emes? Or if I didn't have a munus chachamim and I made a decision and the decision ended up being beneficial for me, is that considered mishpatei emes or mishpat ma'ukal? It's a very simple question. So is it mishpatei emes or not? I'm telling you that it's a mishpat ma'ukal. Well, let's take another thing. A yeshiva, education. I chose this school over this school, and it ended up that this school ended up working out. Did I make a mishpatei emes? Mishpat is all parts of mishpat. Number one, mishpat is the law, the judgment, and then the justice, the verdict, right? So if I didn't have proper judgment, or I didn't have proper rules and regulations, then even if the result seems beneficial, but that beneficial cannot be beneficial. I have $1 million in the bank, but I'm going to get a health issue. That money won't have a bracha. Something will happen. I'll reinvest that money. Something with that is going to go to pits at some point. Why? Because the process, it needs a tool in order to make even if I made a choice that seemingly seems right, at some point, it will not be right. It can't be right. And therefore, it's a distorted mishpat. What does a distorted mishpat mean? It doesn't mean that it's not a mishpat. It means it's a mishpat that's clouded somewhere. It can't be solid. It can't be amuda de emtseusa. It cannot be a pillar in life of a way to behave and to conduct myself. This time it worked. Next time it won't work. That money will be used for something that won't work. Why? Because I didn't use the process and the tool that is needed to come to mishpatei emes. And what is that tool? That tool is emunas chacham. So if I don't have emunas chacham, all my decisions that are made, that even though I live with them and they seem to be good decisions, but those decisions, if I don't infuse emunas chachamim somewhere, then those decisions will harm me. They'll be l'ra and not l'tov. Now,
what about a decision from experience? Is that emunas chachamim?
Oh,
what is that? What's a decision from experience? A fresh decision?
From all the lamidim shudim loimid, surich she kabel v'yoytzem mishmer. From a limit, you have to be. If the question was, as the Rebbe is, you have an hugge, how you have to do it is what is the lamidim?
So
from before.
I'm asking you a question. So is it me that's able to analyze the previous experience to take out mishpatei emes and not mishpatei me'ukul, but the tool is not me. The tool is Amunas Chacham. And that's a schus. The Rebbe calls it twice. He says, Zoichen, you merit. It's not something that is Amunas Chacham. Let's go back. Amunas Chacham. What does it mean? What does it mean to have faith in the Chachamim? And how does the faith that I have in the Chachamim give me the ability? So that means I have to call them up. I want to be medayik here. One more thing, and then we'll stop for today. That the Rebbe says, Amuda de Emtseusa, which is a center pillar, the Hainu Derech HaMamutza, which means a center way. But there's a big difference between Derech HaMamutza and Amuda de Emtseusa. What are the criteria of a pillar? It's solid. It can't move. A pillar doesn't move. And a derech could move. A derech could be windy. A derech could go right, left. Then to get to destination, it could go through all different deviations. So the Rebbe is taking for granted, like derech hamamutza is amuda de emtseusa. So we need to understand in order to understand this, we need to understand what is Amunas Chacham. In order to understand, because the Rebbe is not, you're making decisions every second of the day. It's not God that's making the decisions. You're making the decisions. God's giving you the ability to make the decisions. What does normal mean? Define the word normal. It's in the middle. Talk about global normal.
Right.
Global normal that's accepted in the world as normal. What is normal? That means there's 1,000 people, and most of the people, there's some people that are extreme right, some people that are extreme left. Normal is where most of the people are. They're in the middle. Correct? First, I'm going to ask you a different kasha. Your kasha is the same kasha that I'm asking differently. But first, understand, do we all agree? Normal is based on whatever I'm seeing here. There's a right here, there's a left here, an extreme left here, and normal is in the middle. Let me ask you, the normal way of life today and the normal way of life 20 years ago, is it different or not? What was normal 20 years ago and normal today, is that different?
100%.
100%, but they're both called normal. Why? Because normal shifts to wherever right and left shift to. That means if things start moving right, so left becomes what center was, and center moves to between
Of course,
right and left.
understood, 100%.
So that means in a derech hamamutza, it means no matter where I am. And that's exactly what the Rebbe is telling you. That's the godless here. The Rebbe is telling you.
Nachman, is Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky normal?
No.
He's abnormal, but he's still right.
No, he's extreme. It's not he's not normal. Based on people, he's extreme right. Very right.
So normal is not
But if you ask the
necessarily.
Chazon Ish would say he's very normal.
No, he wouldn't. Because
The extreme people have a different normal than our extreme.
to them. But we're not talking about their normal. We're talking about, if I ask the Chazon Ish, were you normal in the world that you were in? And he will say, no, I wasn't. If I ask the Rebbe, he would say, no, I wasn't. Normal is wherever right and left is, it's the middle. If it's me, myself, determining normal, that's called to liyamin u'lismail. So that means that whatever Amunas Chachamim means, which we don't know, we won't know until Siv Beis, but whatever Amunas Chachamim means, it's giving me the ability not to be right and left. And I have a question that'll open it up a little bit more. If my choices before I made a decision was either yes or no, I call yes right and no left, and then I chose yes. So did I choose right? Or that means what? Even if I went through the process of the derech hamamutza, at the end of the day, I had to make one of these two choices. So at the end of the day, I chose that what was in my process of decision making right. I chose right. So is the verdict right? But if it's derech hamamutza, it's not the same right as the right that was before. Because in the right before, there was right and left. Now that I ended up choosing right, I had to take left into account to be able to choose right. Before I chose right, it was when right was an option, it was only right, either right or left. When I made the decision, I started looking for the derech hamamutza. What I did is I took some of left to give me the power to choose right. So now I have a derech hamamutza. What I'm trying to say is that there is a way of being normal and not just being right or left. Derech hamamutza is in the process. Amudadem tzeusa is in the verdict. And with this, we'll leave for today.